Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Derek and the Dark Lord Dracula beckons you once again back to his castle. That is because the Symphony of the Night PlayStation 1 Recomp team has a massive update out for the Symphony of the Night PC port, bringing in a bunch of new features, a lot of improvements, and if you haven't noticed already, extension to graphics in some of the areas in Dracula's castle, so when you are using this in widescreen, a format it was never intended for, you're going to be getting new artwork. Now do be aware that is not everywhere. This is basically a demo of what people are going to be doing in the future, what can be done, because if you played this on widescreen before, that Dracula's castle area would never extend out past the left because that was never supposed to be on screen. But honestly, this is a way more stable, way more feature-packed update, and I'll go over some of the top notes in the video. But this update definitely improves a lot of the rough edges, but of course when we first talked about this, it was the initial release day. The video went out and the build went live maybe 5 minutes later, but now with a bunch of people testing it and finding bugs, there is a lot of room for improvement. A lot of that has been seen here. You'll also get some CRT shaders incorporated into the mix as well if that's something you like to use. For me personally, I generally don't use them just because I don't think they compress very well onto YouTube, but there's so many fun new features in this, and honestly now with the entire new mod engine, I know that something like the Castlevania community isn't as big as the Pokemon community, but like we saw with the Gen 1 Pokemon PC port, you're going to see a lot of mods develop for this over the coming months and years. It really is that robust to be able to play around with things, but just getting 16:9 support, getting it to run this smoothly is in and of itself an absolute treat, and even though it's not complete yet, hopefully it'll be done next week. Blackout mode is a video I will be doing because it basically turns the game into the hardest of hard modes you could possibly imagine in all the best ways possible. But as a fan of Symphony of the Night from the first time I saw it on eBay Games shelves when it first released, thought to myself, well, I like Castlevania, I should pick it up. This is as much fun as it ever has been, and in some ways more. You're going to have the entire randomizer in here, and that has been updated a bit as well, but really the main attraction to this update is getting a lot of the stability improved, getting widescreen working a little bit better, and just basically giving you more of a good thing. Because in some of the previous builds, especially in the inverted castle, people said that there were some issues opening some doors, so that's completely been fixed. And don't forget, there is an entire cheat menu and inventory menu within the recomp as well, and for somebody who likes to capture these and talk about them in video form, it makes it a lot easier for me, so I can kind of just jump around to different areas, set the stats and attributes to whatever I want, and basically make it easier for me to capture this video. But again, the widescreen improvements are absolutely massive, especially in the inverted castle, because that was a situation where it could be a little bit tricky to finish the game if you had widescreen on. Now, of course, if you go by the standard 4:3 aspect ratio, the presentation ratio of the game when it first released, you'll have absolutely no issues whatsoever. There's also now a VSync option as well, even though I didn't really have any issues with any sort of screen tearing. Just be aware that this new build does require .NET 10, so you're going to have to install that. There is a link on the GitHub page. It really is just kind of a dependency for Windows software, so this thing will run. So just think of it as kind of like a driver, for lack of a better term, and you'll understand it. And trust me, it really isn't a driver, just the easiest way for me to kind of explain exactly what's going on. Additionally, OpenGL requirements have been lowered, and just really the performance and stability have been improved all the way around the edges, and that is definitely something that is going to be fun, just so you guys can get a more stable experience. Although for me personally, I will say right now, with this new update, I've actually finished the game from start to finish with the previous save file I had and was poking around on. No, I didn't go over 200%, I basically just ran the game to get the best ending, kind of poking around the areas that I love the best with the best soundtrack, and I had absolutely no crashes, no issues playing the game, everything just worked. Now, as far as somebody going in and extending all the rest of the areas in widescreen, it can be done. There is a procedure for that to be actually able to be accomplished within the recomp now, but that would require somebody to go in and basically hand draw art or extend out the existing art to hit that 16:9 widescreen aspect ratio in areas. That is no small task whatsoever, but if I know the Castlevania community, I feel like someone's definitely going to take that as a challenge and say to themselves, I'm going to do this for everyone just because I can. And that's what I really love about this project, it's opening up a lot of doors. Let's do the first of 2 soundtrack samples because the music in this game is always incredible, and I'll be right back with a lot more Castlevania fun. In my opinion, Symphony of the Night has one of the best soundtracks ever made, and I would say it's only rivaled by something like Grim Fandango as well as Killing Time on the 3DO. And now with the new recomp updates, the entire backend render has been updated as well to give you guys better graphical performance, and some of the animations on Alucard, the offsets to be exact, those have been improved as well, so you're just going to get a more accurate version of Symphony of the Night. Now, of course, I want to tell you guys that this is still in development. There's a lot of plans and a lot of fun stuff coming in the future, and it'll definitely be fun to see that, because at the top of the screen there, you just briefly saw some of the effects are still going to be constrained within the 4:3 aspect window. But again, like I said earlier, if you play this in 4:3 and don't go to widescreen, then everything is going to work perfectly. Obviously, this game was always designed to be 4:3, and unlike 3D games where you're in an actual engine and world where you can extend out the viewport and draw those polygons, for levels and areas in this game that are only set up to not scroll, you have to redraw all the art like you would see here. It extends out some of the background color, but it is still an absolutely massive task to get this all buttoned up and done. Well, if you just want to go 4:3, which maybe honestly might be my preferred aspect ratio, then you are going to be 100% fine. And I did on my PC, just kind of as an experiment, get the signal out of my GPU and basically downscale it into my PVM to play the recomp on my 20-inch Sony PVM, and it absolutely looks stunning. All the quality of life improvements, all of the fun things in the recomp, but still playing it on something like a CRT television was kind of the best of both worlds. But honestly, I admit that's something that is very hard to set up and something that everyone can do. But I also play around with the widescreen mode on my LG C4 OLED, and because this game has a lot of inky blacks and a lot of bright colors as well, it really looks incredible on an OLED, so if you have that, definitely check it out. And I know in the previous video a bunch of people mentioned that the UI was very hard to read when you were using 4K resolution. There is now also a UI size slider, so if you are using 4K and you're having trouble reading that, then you can go ahead and adjust the actual size so you are 100% able to read everything that's going to be in front of you. And it really is nice that the entire recomp team here, Fluffy Granola, Dirt Princess, and everyone else involved has been taking this feedback into account when they've been updating the actual build. So if there is an issue that you're facing, go over to the GitHub, which is linked in the description down below, and also the auto updater isn't going to work for version 0.4. You're going to want to download that manually and re-add your files. Go ahead and open up an issue in the issue ticket section. Be polite, of course, and tell them, even if you have some visual evidence would be more helpful, what is going on. That way they can see exactly how it might be fixed, because trust me, Symphony of the Night is a massive game, and it really is almost impossible to find every single bug and issue with it if you're just 3 people, 4 people trying to test everything, because you basically go blind to finding problems where somebody who hasn't been spending hundreds of hours getting it to run on PC is going to know exactly where the issues are. But that really is kind of the fun part about something like this. The Symphony of the Night static recomp is going to be a living, breathing project that's going to be improved, modded, and had a ton of fun with into the future. But one more soundtrack sample, and I'll be right back with more.
You have done well in making it this far. I would expect no less from the son of our master.
So you are the one who was controlling Belmont?
Yes. I am the dark priest called Shaft. This world must be cleansed in the forge of chaos.
Why did you make Belmont lord of this castle?
I mean, you just cannot go wrong with Symphony of the Night voice acting, but remember, if you are playing around with the cheat menu and you did dial up every single stat to its absolute max, you can beat Shaft in not 1, but 2 sword strikes. And that's kind of the fun thing about a cheat menu. For me, it's really easy to use, just so I can get around the castle quicker and capture more footage, so I can work on the next video I have on my list. But it's also just kind of fun if you want to start the game and then just dial up absolutely every attack to 100% power, you can really just make this game an absolute breeze. What I'd love to see come in is a hard mode. There is an easy mode, but I would love to see something like a doubling of all the stats of all the enemies, maybe even speeding them up a little bit to give you just a little bit more challenge. And again, I'm sure modders are going to be working on a ton of stuff, but for the meantime, I would say randomizer, and maybe if you use one of the luck modes, you might get a little bit harder of a challenge. But I have beaten this game dozens upon dozens of times, and every single time I play it, I'm always amused, I'm always having fun, and now I have what I would consider, at least at this point in time, the best possible way to play Castlevania Symphony of the Night, not on PlayStation 1, but on PC. and it's something Konami never gave us that PC port, so fans are coming in to take care of it. And don't forget the Castlevania Symphony Night decompilation project is still going strong, and that'll bring us a PC source port in the future some point in time. And we also have the static recomp of Symphony of Night on the Xbox Live Arcade version for 360. If you're wondering how many versions of Symphony of Night on PC are too many, I will tell you right now, anything under 69 is going to be perfectly fine. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
How? How is it that I've been so defeated?